Hey, I'm Eric Gonzalez,
And I'm Kyla Moore.
and welcome to the Blue and Silver Breakdown.
First one of 2026.
Hooray. Alrighty, so Kylo, what were our games of the week here?
So we had Crosstown Part 1 for both girls and boys basketball. Girls ended up winning 49-30. The boys ended up losing 59-52.
I think it's worth mentioning that the boys fell in overtime after, again, a very back and forth kind of game.
We're going to start off with the girls' games. The top players was Avea Kittling-Turner, Nicole Warbinski, and Desiree Merritt. Also, Aubrey Limberty. She was also really good.
And so we should be able to get interview at least one of them here coming up later in this episode. So it's always nice to hear, insight and whatnot from players, coaches, that fun stuff. So you attended both games. You had wrote there were a lot of turnovers during this game.
There was a lot of turnovers in both games, honestly. There was a lot of turnovers and a lot of fouls in both of the games, which I think was the reason why it wasn't a bigger difference in the wins and losses.
Okay, so again, very physical game apparently, very emotional game. I mean, it's Oswego versus Oswego East. It's crosstown. There's always going to be hot emotions going into it, but apparently no love lost between these two teams. So
it was a very back and forth game too. It was like as soon as we would get a point, they would get a point, then we would get another one, then they would get another one, until like halftime for the girls. It was, I don't know what it was, but something clicked and it just took off, and then we ended up winning.
there you go. So. You said that when Avaya was first put in the game, she immediately took the ball and made 2 points, and she continued to be on fire, ending the game with 10 whole points.
Yeah.
That is very, there you go, that's 20% of Oswego East scoring for the entire night.
She was playing very aggressively. Also with Desiree Merritt, they were both really aggressive players out on the court. They were going for the ball. They weren't afraid with whoever was in the ball and trying to also get the ball, because Oswego's got some tall people. They got some tall girls, so they weren't afraid to go and get the ball, especially Avea. Her defense this game was outstanding. She was not afraid of that ball and not afraid of any girl that was on that court.
That's what you want to see out of some of your star players, is that courage really to step up in big games like this one, again, crosstown, and you want that ability to step up to the rise to the challenge, and then not back away from some of these larger players, some of the players that can maybe be more physically just physically able to knock you off the ball or something like that. So that's really solid stuff. Is what you want to see out of your teammates.
After they came back during the second half of the game, you could hear them talking a lot more on the court. Like before the halftime, of course they were talking, but it wasn't as much as when they came back, because you can tell something happened in that locker room, something was said, because they came back and they wanted it more.
Obviously, that's one of the biggest things in all sports really, is who genuinely wants it more, who wants to fight for it. There's that difference, right? Who loves to win, but who hates to lose? And that's a line I stole from a show called Shoresy. But again, you have to both love winning, but you have to hate losing, and apparently they did.
Yeah, I think that Oswego East as a whole hates losing to Oswego, especially in football. So in every other sport, we try and come back and we try to overpower and overdo them, and that's what the girls were able to do.
All right. Are there any other points you want to cover for that women's game?
I will give something to Oswego. They never let them losing bring down how they were playing. They would always attack and they will always keep playing to the end. Even though they were losing, they were still really aggressive and still kind of making our girls run for it and actually try and reach and actually try and win. So, and I think that that's one thing that the girls and boys alike need, is somebody who will push them to be better, because obviously we're good, but we want to be like great. So playing against these teams that are like amazing and will make you fight for it even when they're losing is something that is really amazing to see.
Alrighty. So again, that goes back to that whole mentality thing we were talking about a little earlier. Again, you can't afford to give up on a big game like this for either side. But again, that's something that I think they need to carry with them, Oswego East at least. That fighting all the way to the end. Again, I remember they were up earlier this season, just like slaughtering an opponent. I don't remember who, but again, like having to continue fighting like that, having to continue because there are going to be the tough games that I don't know. Like there are going to be those tough games, those down to the line ones, and you can't not continue fighting, right? You have to continue no matter what. So again, this kind of opponent that will make you work for every single point you get, those cannot be understated at all. So
Another thing that I want to talk about is the Oswego school as a whole is a very close community because you could see the student section come out and watch the girls also, and they were cheering on the girls through the whole entire game. Also, when they were losing, they never stopped cheering for their girls.
that's something that's pretty important, I think, as well as we go into these next few games and go to these coming weeks is atmosphere for both the men's and women's teams. Again, like as a player, you feed off the atmosphere that the fans give, right? That's the common sense. If you're there, if you're in attendance and you are loud, they feed off of that. They feed off of the energy of the crowd. But if you're there and you're silent, you're just standing and watching, right? You're just sitting and watching. You're not involved with anything. Then it gets noticed. It feels like again, like as an athlete, you feel like why am I even doing this, right? Like what are we doing here? We're all wasting our time. So I think something that we need to generate a better atmosphere. Again, men's and women's. Not just these big games like Crosstown, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. All right, so is there anything else you want to mention here for the women's game?
Not for the girls' game. It was a very impressive game. I loved watching it. I love watching all their games. Their games are really interesting to watch. Like, yes, the boys are interesting to watch, but like if you see a girls' game, it's like they're fighting because they're also fighting for attention. And I think this is like for the WNBA too. They're all fighting for attention because you don't get many women's fans as you get men's fans. So they're not saying that they're putting in more effort, but they're putting in a lot of effort to not only gain attention but also win so that they get that attention.
It's less of a show and more of a sport. Like it's and like it's something I notice in a lot of women's sports. I see a lot. Honestly, because again, I've been around softball for most of my life. Women's soccer, I see it a lot. And women's hockey, something I've been really, really watching recently. And it brings the sports back to its roots, honestly, to like what it's supposed to look like, and that fight, right? And it's something that it feels like it's the sport as it should be, and that's something that's really nice to see. So I know I got to get to more women's basketball games for Oswego East.
I think that's the end for the girls' game. Moving on to the boys' game, they did lose 59-52, but like we said, it went to overtime. That was one of the loudest games that I think I've ever been at. But then again, every year Crosstown is really loud, but something was different this year. It was so loud to the point where my voice was lost from cheering because I had to cheer over the already loud people on both sides. Yes, sometimes it got quiet, but those times where it wasn't quiet, it was loud.
And you mentioned something being different. This was a very different one because Oswego East fell to Oswego for the first time in 16 years.
Yeah.
As a player for Oswego East, like what's got to be going through your mind after that, right? Like you're coming off a winning streak and you roll into Oswego, and you have to get humbled. Like it's one of those games that you look at the records and you look at the rankings and everything, and you're like, oh, these are guys we expect to beat, right? Like we expect to beat them. But at this level, it shows to prove, like, you can't expect anything at this level at all.
Yeah, you can't really settle. I think that's one thing that our boys have done is kind of settle when it comes to games like this because we've had such a winning streak and we were going into this game, we were expected to win. So going into this game, I feel like everybody was calm and not really fighting.
There's a difference between, being game ready, and there's a difference between taking a step, like taking your foot off the gas. You can't afford, in a game like Crosstown as well, right? No matter what, it's going to be anyone's game. You can't afford to take your foot off the gas at all.
I felt like on the sideline through their faces, it looked like they thought it was going to be an easy game. But in any sport, you can't really think any competition, any game, anything is going to be easy. It shouldn't be easy.
It shouldn't. Not at this level. Not at, again, competitive. It's crosstown. I keep saying it's crosstown, but it is. It is a big game. And no matter what, emotions are going to be high. It's not something that you can just you can't just expect to win it. You need to actually put the work in. And unfortunately, if you don't come into the game with that kind of mentality, if you don't come into the game ready to, again, work for everything, then you can't just expect to win.
Yeah. I will say that the first half of the game, it came out just as the boys were fighting for it, kind of. They were they were playing, and it was like the girls' game. It was point after point, tit for tat. They would make a point, we would make a point. We would make a point, they would make a point. And it was very at some points we would make 2 points and then they wouldn't make a point. And so at those points we felt like we were going to win, and you could feel the emotions on not only the cheerleaders and our sidelines, but you could see it in the parents, you could see it in the student section. But then it was like they would come up because they would make the point, and you could hear it go quiet over on our side. And it was those were the times where you could feel that it was like coasting.
And again, that goes back on the whole atmosphere conversation we had a second ago. And even a few episodes ago, we had that conversation. I do still think everything we said then is still relevant to the boys and girls now. Real quick, just to pivot real quick, who were your top performers? Who were any standouts for you?
Our top performers, mainly Armani Sims. That boy would jump and catch any rebound, catch any ball. He would try and catch any rebound. He would try to catch any ball, and he's tall, but there was some guys that are easily over 6 foot, and he was jumping as high or higher than them trying to actually get the ball. He was actually really working to get that ball.
And that's what you want to see again out of those players, again, that fight for every single ball, that fight for again, I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but that will to fight, that need to fight, really. That's what you want to see out of your top performers.
Mm-hmm. And then we also had Mason Lockett. His 3-point shots, when he made them, were beautiful. This game was I felt a lot of people came out to see him against Ethan Vile over on Oswego's team, and you could see the competitiveness between them two. You can see that both of them, because one of them would make a 3-point shot, and then the other would go and make another 3-point shot, and you can see just the competitiveness between both of them and both of the teams.
So disregarding the score, right? Who would you say won that matchup between the two of them?
Honestly, in the first half of the game, I would say Ethan Vile. His 3-point shots were very consistent. He was dropping one after another. Mason, it took him a little longer to get them, but once he did, he took off and was making them one after another. But I would definitely say in the first half it was Ethan.
So again, that's going to be interesting to see that matchup again here at Oswego East, because we do play Oswego High School again. That's going to be on February 13th here at home. So obviously be there, be loud, because it's the day before Valentine's Day. But again, that's one of those things where you just it's going to be an interesting matchup to see. We will probably be covering it as well on the OE Hal YouTube channel. But yeah, you have any more notes here on the men's game?
Just talking more about it, you could see the big support system that the boys on both teams have, because the stands are packed full of people. There's no space to breathe. From the sidelines looking up, it's from the bottom of the bleachers to the top is completely filled with people. So I think that a little bit of that pressure got to them, especially in the overtime, because they kept fouling the same people over and over again, and these people that they were fouling were not missing a single 3-point shot. So seeing them keep fouling in the same person, it was the pressure got to them, and I understand the pressure of Crosstown. I understand the pressure of Crosstown. But I don't think it should have got to them that bad.
You said you have here written that they looked almost defeated going in overtime. So again, that goes back to the whole mentality thing, right? how do you dig yourself out of a really tight spot, right? How do you get yourself out of a deep hole? So it is going to be something interesting again to watch. Back at our court here at Oswego East, fill the stands. Obviously, we need that full atmosphere. You just said how big of dividends it plays. We saw it against Oswego. We saw it was detrimental to us, and it's something that we can create the atmosphere here, but it's one of those things we need everyone to do it. So.
Yeah. Going into overtime, they did look defeated because right before we were winning, and then Oswego made a shot and it was tied, and then after that it was like they were tired, but it was like they also kind of knew that they were gonna win.
Okay, so I have nothing less to say about the game. Do you have any other notes you want to cover for that?
No, I think it'll just be really interesting to see how both teams are going to grow because they still have other games to play before they come and play each other again. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how these teams grow and what their training is going to be like over the next couple of weeks to see how they play each other again here.
And absolutely, I think it's worth mentioning as well that, again, Oswego East lost 2 on the bounce. They lost to, I want to say, Mattia in the day following Crosstown. So their first game after that is going to be day of recording here today, Tuesday. So it's going to be interesting to see how this game goes. And then moving into Crosstown again in a few weeks in February. It's going to be interesting to see how these 2 seasons continue until they meet each other again.
I think it's going to be really interesting to see how we play on our home court advantage.
Absolutely. Right, so one last little treat before you go. Obviously, I was able to get an interview here with some of the staff for the Oswego East basketball, men's basketball.
And I was able to get a interview with Avea Kittling Turner.
So that is going to be these coming up.
Okay, hi, who am I here with?
Avea Kittling Turner.
Okay, perfect. So we're interviewing you based off of the Crosstown game, part 1. Yes.
Part 1, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So what do you think helped you perform so well?
I feel like just having my teammates with me and having the energy that we had going into the game really helped me play well and keep my spirits high.
Okay, so what was the main thing that was going through your mind while you were on the court?
Just making sure that I communicate with my teammates and talking enough on the court and encouraging my other teammates as well.
Okay, how did the closeness of the team help you with your outstanding performance?
Before games, we usually say a team prayer, and having the team prayer really helps us get our minds into the game and calming down. We have a pep talk in the locker room before games. We encourage each other all the time, just making each other laugh and saying nice things to each other.
Okay, what do you think changed in the second half of the game? Because that was you guys' outstanding performance.
In the second half, we were way more confident. We were ready to win. We felt like the energy, the student section started filling up. We saw people cheering, and having the other team in their student section kind of just yelling things out really made us feel like wow, this is kind of funny, and just having fun at the game.
Okay, so we know that your team is very close. We know that you guys do a team prayer. Is there anything else that you guys do before a game?
We kind of just talk, laugh all the time before games, make jokes to each other, talk with our coaches. We kind of just get all our silliness out before the games and have that time together.
Okay. What do you think the hardest thing was to get over or do in this game?
I think one of the hardest things was making sure that we communicated enough on the court, because sometimes we don't talk and it really messes us up, and we lose who we're guarding, and it kind of just gets scrambled. So making sure that we talked enough on the court and not getting mad at each other and getting frustrated, which is something that's hard for us to kind of get over.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
So I'm here with Mr. Velasquez, head coach of the men's basketball program. I just got a couple of questions, recent results and everything. So, again, this program has held very high standards over the years. It's being one of the most successful programs. So how do you keep perspective during difficult games throughout the season, difficult moments throughout the season?
Well, when you hit those speed bumps throughout the season, I'm a firm believer of practice. All right, getting back onto the practice floor and correcting some mistakes. There's going to be times of adversity throughout the season. And like you said, we've had success throughout the years. We will look back at our standards, our core values, but those struggles and the adversity, all right, hopefully show some resiliency throughout those times and moments throughout the season. And it's all part of the build about getting to where we want to be, and that's playing our best basketball at the end of the season.
How do you get the boys to buy into that? Is it challenging to buy into that? Is it pretty easy? So?
Oh, no, it's constant conversations with players, with coaches, making sure we're all on the same page, and developing roles for players. The buy-in, it's an ongoing process.
Yeah. So, on the topic of an ongoing process, where do you see the most potential for growth with this team moving forwards?
That's a great question. I believe it's on the defensive end. Just really digging our heels in and trying to get stops and staying true to our OE defensive principles, and then just playing for each other. And when you play selflessly, unselfish, it brings out the best in everybody. So we concentrate on doing that every single practice, every single game, and that doesn't just not on the court, it's off the court too, serving others, and then hopefully we see the results.
Absolutely. And then, obviously, first game versus Oswego didn't go how we wanted to. We have one more game against them on the 13th. What are your messages to the players, students, parents, and community in anticipation of that rematch here on home court?
Yeah, it's a great atmosphere. Kids love playing in it. Unfortunately, we came up on the short end of the stick the first time around, but we get to see them February 13th on senior night, so it's a great opportunity for us to redeem ourselves. And we'd like to treat it as another game, but there's a little bit more emphasis on that game because it's the team in your backyard, and I'm sure our boys will be up for the challenge.
Absolutely. Right, that's all the questions I have. Thank you so much for doing this interview with me.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning into the first Blue and Silver breakdown of the semester.
And we cannot wait to see you guys again. Thank you so much for tuning in, for the support and everything. We'll see you next time here on OE Howl TV.